What's up, guys? And yes, finally, the playoffs are upon us. Wild card weekend. We got 4 games happening this weekend. So let's go ahead and get started with the AFC on Saturday. First, we have the Cincinnati Bengals heading into Houston to take on the Texans. This is going to be a really great matchup. It's a rematch from last year, and we all saw how that went. The Bengals were defeated. The Texans went on, but the Texans had a lot more injuries than they do now. They're a more dangerous team, even though they have let a couple games slip away at the end of the season. 2-game losing streak right now. Once against the Colts and once against the Minnesota Vikings. So that makes you wonder. Do you think the Bengals have what it takes to win over the Texans? The Texans are a strong team, and like I said, they have been slipping a few, plays here and there. But when it comes to playoffs, I think it's going to be a whole different mindset. And the Bengals, nothing against them, but their defense is not as strong as the Houston Texans is. They don't have a J.J. Watt. They don't have somebody that can swat the balls down. I mean, offense is going to be putting points on the board. It may be a high-scoring one. I mean, it's hard to tell, because you don't know which matchup and which Andy Dalton's going to show up. So, it's hard to choose. But I'm going to have to take the Houston Texans with this one. They're playing at home, and it's going to be a really good game, but I'm still taking Houston. They have a better running game with Arian Foster than they do with Ben Jarvis Green Ellis on Cincinnati's side. So I'm taking the Houston Texans to win this game. The next game we have on Saturday night is going to involve, again, the Minnesota Vikings, but this time they're heading into Lambeau to take on the Packers. Now, we all saw Sunday, we're going to talk about Adrian Peterson in just a second, but we all saw Saturday, or last Sunday, that the Packers, they need to build up that offensive line. I know injuries have a part in doing it. They have a new center. Jeff Saturday is out. So, I mean, the offensive line has to protect better against the pass defense of the Vikings. Now, like I said, I'm going to talk about Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson almost broke Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record by 9 yards, but he didn't get there. But the thing is that he may have not got the record, but he got his team to a playoff spot. So it's going to be interesting to see this divisional matchup happening in the playoffs. It's going to be a good one. There's always a good game that happens at Lambeau. Now, do I think that the Vikings are strong enough? Possibly. I mean, they did beat them and kept up with them the whole game, and the Vikings and the Packers, it's just a really good game. The Vikings, Christian Ponder needs to stay on top of his game. He needs to, no turnovers. Receiver-wise, it's hard because Percy Harvin's not there to, help you out of a bind, but they did well with Jerome Simpson and Michael Jenkins. You got Adrian Peterson. You're going to use him. Now, with the Packers, they need to get a running game going. They've showed this season they can do it. Passing game, receivers need to be, focused on the ball and focused on catching the ball and making big plays. But I'm going to have to take the Vikings to win this game. Running game is going to be much stronger for the Vikings than it is for the Packers. And we all saw that the Packers have a hard time defending against Adrian Peterson. 199 yards. I mean, that number right there is going to go to show it. So I'm taking the Vikings to win this one over the Packers at Lambeau. Next, we have our Sunday matchups. We're going to start off with the Colts heading to M&T Bank Stadium to take on the Baltimore Ravens. First, let me talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Offensively, they have, last few weeks have done horrible ever since firing Cam Cameron. I don't think it was his fault. I've mentioned this in a video previously. I don't think it was Cam Cameron's fault. I mean, you can't make the wide receivers, you can't make the quarterback play better. You're the one calling the plays, but the players need to execute the play with preciseness and get yards. So you can't necessarily blame the offensive coordinator. Now, Jim Caldwell is going to be calling plays once again, and we don't know what team is going to show up. Don't know if Ray Lewis is going to be able to play. So their defense is lacking leadership, and if he does play, then I don't know how strong they can be. Now, as strong as the Colts. Now, the Colts are they're just a one of those, I don't know what you would call them, just it's a miracle team. That's what they are. Chuck Pagano, diagnosed with a treatable leukemia earlier in the season. He came back to coach the final game of the season and to lead this team into the playoffs. Now, if it is not Chuck Pagano, then it's going to be Bruce Arians. They have good assistants. They have a good coaching staff down there in Indy. So when they head into Baltimore, the top things that the Colts defense needs to focus on is to stop Ray Rice and to pressure the quarterback, because once Joe Flacco's under pressure, he cannot get the ball out to his receivers. So, and if the Baltimore Ravens want to win this game at home, they're going to have to defend Andrew Luck. They need to guard the wide receivers, because we all know now that Reggie Wayne is not the only top target for him. You have many other things. The rushing game is not going to be a big thing unless they're on goal line situations. But for this game, I'm going to have to take the more high-powered offense, and I'm going to take the Colts to win this game. So, yeah, the Colts are going to go into Baltimore and defeat the Ravens. Our next and last game of the wild card weekend involves the Seattle Seahawks high-powered offense versus the Redskins and their come from behind, aggressive play style, and they're playing at FedEx Field. So, like Sunday's matchup against the Cowboys, it's going to be a nitty-gritty, whatever you want to call it, but I think the Seattle still has a better defense and a better offense than the Redskins. Even though I'm not putting anything against RG3, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but we all saw Sunday against the Cowboys that knee is still bothering him in a way. He's not able to execute those big runs like you have seen him all year long. And I've heard people say, "Oh, it's the weather," or it's just a mental thing that he has going on with his knee. I personally, I think it's the mental thing. I mean, cold, people can get used to the cold, especially if you're out there running around with, pads and, all that stuff on. You're not worried about the cold. So I don't think that's going to affect his knee. He was wearing a brace, so I don't think he's going to be able to get those big runs off like he did all season long. And the Seahawks, you got Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas. You got, all those defensive playmakers that can stop a play from happening. And then you also have their offense. You have Sidney Rice. You have Golden Tate. You have Russell Wilson. You have Marshawn Lynch. The list goes on. So I mean that gets you thinking. It's going to come down to whose offense is more powerful in this game. And if you look at it on paper, the Seattle Seahawks look more powerful on offense, and on defense, with Redskins having many injuries, you got to think that the Seahawks have this game. So that's why I'm taking the Seahawks to win this game. But it's going to be a good one. I'm not doubting that. So I'm taking the Seahawks to win. All right, guys. Thanks for watching for the Wild Card Week picks. And make sure you follow me on Twitter at The Epic One. And make sure that you like this video, favorite, and share it. And subscribe to my channel for next week's video. We'll be covering the divisional round. So, yeah, make sure you do all the stuff I mentioned, and I'll see you guys next week for divisional round playoffs.